The debate hall breathed tension. Not the ordinary tension of politics, but the razor-edge silence that descends before history breaks. Lights beamed down on the polished stage, cameras zoomed closer than comfort, and millions across the nation leaned forward, waiting for the eruption. At the center stood former Vice President Mike Pence. Once the quiet guardian of the Trump White House, Pence had built his career on faith, restraint, and iron discipline. He looked steady, but behind his calm eyes flickered urgency. A man aware that tonight could either revive his career or end it. Then, with measured force, Pence gripped the lectern and delivered his strike. If Donald Trump wishes to lead this nation again, he must be willing to confront Vladimir Putin, not coddle him. The words carved through the silence like steel. This was not just policy. It was a dare, a warning, an open challenge to the man who had defined the party. For a heartbeat, the audience froze, torn between applause and disbelief. But the pause didn't last. A new voice stirred. Senator J.D. Vance, sharp-eyed and unflinching, adjusted his microphone. A political newcomer, yet already a predator among veterans. He didn't simply respond. He attacked. Vance dismantled Pence piece by piece. His failures in office, his lack of conviction when the nation needed strength, his ties to an old guard that no longer spoke to the base. The room shifted instantly. Pence, once the embodiment of steady authority, suddenly looked small beneath the weight of Vance's fire. Cameras captured every flicker of discomfort. Millions at home felt the tremor. This wasn't a debate. It was a transfer of power, unfolding live. The storm had begun. This clash didn't start on that stage. It had been brewing for years, in the shadow of Trump's rise, in the fractures of the Republican Party, and in the ambitions of men who believed history had reserved a seat for them. Mike Pence's story was one of loyalty. A disciplined conservative rooted in faith, he became Trump's second-in-command, the calm to Trump's chaos. To the world, Pence was the steady lieutenant. To Trump, he was a shield. But loyalty has limits. On January 6, 2021, under the blazing lights of insurrection, Trump demanded Pence overturn the election. Pence refused. To himself, he had defended the Constitution. To millions of Trump loyalists, he had betrayed them. From that moment, Pence's name was etched with hesitation. No speech, no rally, no carefully polished words could erase that scar. Enter J.D. Vance. Vance's rise was different. Born into hardship, raised in the grit of Ohio, he turned his turbulent life into a national bestseller, Hillbilly Elegy. But his true power came when he embraced Trumpism. Where Pence spoke of morality and tradition, Vance roared about rebellion, anger, and rejecting the old Republican ways. By the time they shared a stage, they weren't just two candidates. They were two symbols. One, the quiet face of the past. The other, the fiery voice of the future. Behind closed doors, strategists whispered, could Pence reclaim dignity as the adult in the room? Or would Vance ignite the base and reshape the party? No one predicted how fast the balance would tip. The lights dimmed. Cameras locked in. The hall turned into an arena. Pence spoke first, sharp, commanding, his eyes scanning the hall. Donald Trump has been too soft on Vladimir Putin. America must confront tyranny, not embrace it. It was the punch of a seasoned veteran. For a fleeting moment, Pence looked unshakable. Then came the strike. Mr. Vice President, Vance's voice cut through, calm but deadly. You had your chance to lead. 4 years beside Trump. And when the moment of truth came, you folded. Gasps, murmurs. Pence's jaw tightened. Vance pressed harder. His words rose like artillery fire. You speak of courage? Where was it in the White House? Where was it when America needed strength? Americans don't want lectures from yesterday's man. They want a fighter. The hall erupted. Pence tried to steady himself. Shock. Leadership is about principle, Senator. About standing firm when it costs you. But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Vance lunged for the kill. Principle? The only principle you've stood for is survival. And tonight, this party moves on, with or without you. Explosion. The crowd roared. Social media lit up. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag power shift. Vance Spence. And Pence? Pale, rigid, his aura collapsing under the glare. For decades he had stood tall in the Republican hierarchy. Now he looked like a relic. This wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a dethroning. The atmosphere cracked wide open. What began as debate had turned into spectacle, and then into history. Momentum, once born, cannot be contained. Vance had not just defended Trump, he had outshined him. The newcomer had seized the spotlight from both the veteran at his side and the giant looming over the party. Backstage, Trump's advisors exchanged silent nods. Even in Mar-a-Lago, Trump himself reportedly leaned back, recognizing the inevitable. Pence was finished. Vance was ascendant. Viewers across America felt the shift in real time. Older conservatives who once admired Pence's quiet dignity now saw weakness. Younger voters scrolling on TikTok saw defiance, rebellion, dominance. This wasn't a debate. It was a coronation. News anchors broke from their scripts. We may have just witnessed a generational transfer of power inside the Republican Party. And Pence? His words fell flat. His shoulders slumped. The weight of years pressed on him. Cameras caught it. The torch had already been ripped from his hands. The hall emptied, but the aftershocks spread like wildfire. Within minutes, clips of the clash dominated Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Headlines screamed, "Knockout blow," "End of Pence," "The rise of Vance." For Pence, the collapse was immediate. Donors disappeared. Staff whispered of exits. His campaign, dignified but fragile, crumbled overnight. For Vance, the opposite. Money poured in. Conservative influencers hailed him as the future. Newsrooms replayed his sound bites on loop. And in Trump's circle, a new question emerged. Whispered, dangerous. Was Vance the heir? The implications spread beyond America. In Moscow, analysts rewatched the exchange, recalculating U.S. politics. European allies braced for a Republican Party no longer led by steady hands, but by firebrands. Polls shifted. Narratives hardened. Pence sank. Vance surged. The hierarchy of power had been redrawn before millions of witnesses. And Trump? For the first time, he watched not as the sole kingmaker, but as a man seeing his shadow replaced by another. This wasn't just one debate, nor one candidacy lost. It was the story of power. How it slips, how it transfers, how one night can alter history. The night Pence fell was the night J.D. Vance rose, and the Republican Party would never look the same again.